Good morning. My name is Jay Marie, and I will be going over nurse-physician relationships. For the learner objectives, at the end of the presentation, the learner will be able to mention a reason that the nurse-physician relationship can be strained. At the end of the presentation, the learner will be able to understand how to positively foster communication skills. And at the end of this presentation, the learner will be able to state how we can improve healthcare with teamwork. Now, this topic can be very lengthy. I know we are supposed to keep it down to 5 to 6 minutes, and I will try my best, although this is something that I find very appealing, so it's something that I can talk about for a long time, but I will try to limit. For the introduction, patients entrust us to provide a healthy, positive, and healthy healing environment while they are in the hospital. How can we improve how we interact with other members of the healthcare team and the natural hierarchy that is in place? Specifically, nurse and doctor relationships. Are nurses respected by doctors? Do nurses have positive interactions with doctors? Do doctors understand the nursing role? I think as healthcare continues to evolve, our relationships with the team will change. So the influence of the nurse-physician relationship is that it directly affects patient outcomes and the care that is provided depending on how strong or weak that relationship is. In multiple articles, they state that collaborative nurse-physician relationships led to better patient outcomes and decreased length of stay and reduction of treatment costs for patients, which is a good thing. We have seen that many times when patients are in a healthy environment where doctors and nurses are listening to them, they have better outcomes. When patients are actively engaged in their health care, patients are more satisfied with their care and they learn. So the biggest thing is with nurse-physician relationships is that there's this natural hierarchy within healthcare. Doctors are essentially at the top of the chain, and then we have nursing, and then we have patient care assistants, we have all of the other interdisciplinary members, which could be social work, physical therapy, mental health, you name it. Anybody who falls under that doctor, we're considered that natural hierarchy. So many times the doctor can seem like they're the top, they're the boss. And we're trying to move away from this as healthcare continues to evolve. How can the relationship be strained? Poor communication skills between doctors and nurses, nurses not being heard while providing direct patient care, hospitals not supporting the nursing role, lack of respect for the roles of each member plays, lack of inclusion during patient rounding for nurses, and lack of a team approach. So many times, if a patient has multiple problems going on, nurses like to be included in rounding so that we're also able to voice what is going on with that patient, since that nurse is typically with that patient around the clock. Another thing is hospitals not supporting the nursing role. This can be a big thing because we have seen many times that hospitals can tend to side with doctors if there's something that went wrong with the patient. But as we see, there is a lot of change towards protocols and standing orders and how nurses are supposed to work with the doctor. I know working at LGH, I think we pretty much have a positive work environment, at least where I work. I sense that it's a positive work environment for nurses. I feel that I am supported by my hospital with the protocols that we have, and I feel safe when I work. Impact on healthcare. The impact on healthcare of the nurse-physician relationship is basically patient safety and quality of care. That is the biggest impact on healthcare. Negative work environment for the nurse and doctor, non-healing environment for patients. Obviously, those are the negative things that can be impacted if a patient does not see good relationship between the nurse and the physician. The Joint Commission in 2008 said both the safety and the quality of care of patients received depended upon the quality of the healthcare practice environment where care is provided. And then another article stated by Hickson, they noted that 55% of nurses said that a physician's behavior impacted nursing decisions and that younger, less experienced nurses were more likely to report being affected by negative physician behaviors than older nurses or nurses with more experience. So I think this is the biggest thing when new nurses are being trained, that they understand that they have hospital protocols that will stand behind them when they are performing any type of assessments, when they're giving any type of meds, which is important because I know that first year of nursing, I relied on my protocols every single day. And they backed me up every time I did care. Anytime I disagreed with the doctor, I had that protocol to back me up in the care that I was providing to my patient, which is important in the confidence that you begin to gain as a nurse, because in the beginning you're like, I do not know what the heck I'm doing. But then as you start to understand the pathophysiology of your patient's care and their diagnosis and the way they're being treated and the meds that they're being provided with, then you really start to understand why we're doing certain things. But until you truly have that in-depth knowledge, you have those protocols there to back you up when you're providing that care to your patient. How can we work towards a positive relationship? So for the biggest thing is positive communication skills, team building activities, team inclusion, understanding the roles of the nurse and the doctor, protocols that protect nurses and doctors. So for positive communication skills, we see that we use the SBAR. We have interdisciplinary rounds with social work, with physical therapy, with dietary, with nutrition, with anybody who is a part of that patient care, that direct patient care, they should be included in those patient routes so that everyone is up to date with what is going on and everyone is included. Another thing with SBAR is I believe that fosters positive communication because you're directly asking your physician what you need and they're responding with an order or they're responding with another type of order that they could potentially need. Understanding the roles of the nurse and doctor. I think this is important for nurses and for doctors, understanding the doctor's role and understanding the nurse's role. I think if we can provide each other respect in that aspect, we can work towards a positive environment. And team building activities. This can be pretty hard in the in-hospital units, but I know a lot of times, like, on the unit that I work on, sometimes the doctors will order pizza or the nurses will order pizza or we'll do a potluck and everyone's included, all of the doctors, the midwives, the nurses, the patient care assistants. And it's just a moment for all of us to feel included in the team and for all of us to, see who we're working with and not have to always be in that role of nurse versus doctor where we could actually just be a team. Impact on society. Patients may have negative views on hospitalizations based on the negative behaviors displayed by nurses and doctors. When the relationship is positive, patients feel trusted by their healthcare providers and they feel heard and feel like they truly matter. Positive relationships between nurses and doctors allow for a positive work and a healing environment for the patient. So that's the biggest impact on society is just making sure that nurses and doctors realize that patients understand roles. They're very smart and they understand when the relationship is strained and they understand when nurses do not respect other team members or when a doctor doesn't respect the nurse who's taking care of that patient. Patients are very, very smart when it comes to those things and they pick up on those behaviors. And I think it's very important that we minimize those behaviors so that patients feel like we actually care about what is going on in their day-to-day while they're in the hospital. So in conclusion, the nurse-physician relationship directly impacts healthcare and society. As seen above, I discussed ways that we can improve the relationship through communication and positive traits, making sure that nurses and doctors understand that keeping patient safety and care is our first priority. I think as healthcare continues to change, with more mid-level providers, now that we have nurse practitioners, physician assistants, and more advanced nurses, nurse anesthetists, all of the different types of mid-levels that are not considered MD versus RN. our dynamics are definitely changing. So I think as that continues to change, I think the hierarchy is going to change as well in the hospital and how we view the systems.